If she had known who he really was, she might have never waved him over, but fate doesn't wait for introductions, and that one small act of kindness changed both their lives forever. If you had walked into the Willow and Steam Cafe that stormy afternoon, you would have seen a moment so small, so ordinary, that most people would have ignored it, yet it changed two lives forever. Before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales. Because stories like this one remind us that kindness finds us when we least expect it. The cafe was overflowing with people escaping the sudden rain, tables packed, chairs pulled together, the baristas shouting orders over the thunder rumbling outside. At a tiny corner table sat Mira, a soft-spoken woman in her early 30s, her notebook open and her tea already cold. She was used to eating alone, writing alone, living quietly in her world of stories. She didn't notice much, until she heard the tired voice of a man carrying a toddler in his arms. "Sir, we really don't have any tables left," the barista apologized. The man shifted the little girl on his shoulder, trying to hide how exhausted he looked, but even from a distance Mira could see the dark shadows under his eyes, the damp hair sticking to his forehead, the worn jacket clinging to him. And despite that, he smiled kindly. "No worries. We'll just wait." Something about the way he said, "we," made Mira look closer. The tiny girl, maybe 4 or 5, was shivering, her shoes soaked, her curls sticking to her forehead. The father hugged her closer, rubbing her arms gently, making sure she felt safe. Mira felt her heart tug. She wasn't usually the type to initiate anything, but something inside her whispered, "Go on. Ask him." So she cleared her throat and lifted her hand slightly. Excuse me," she said. The man turned, surprised. "You two can sit here, if you want. I don't mind sharing." For a moment he simply stared, as if no one had offered him a kindness in a very long time. Then he smiled, an honest, grateful smile that softened his entire face. "Are you sure? I don't want to intrude." "Please," she said, moving her notebook aside. "You look like you need the seat more than I need the space." The little girl blinked up at Mira with wide, curious eyes as her father gently settled her into the chair. "Can you say thank you, Lily?" he whispered. "Thank you," the child chirped. Mira smiled warmly. The father sat, exhaling slowly, as if finally letting go of a burden he'd been holding for miles. "I'm Damon," he said. "Thank you for the kindness. It's been a long week." Mira nodded, not wanting to pry, but something about his tone told her there was far more behind those words than he was letting on. As they talked, Mira noticed little things. Damon's hands, strong but tired. His clothes, simple but clean. His manner, humble, respectful, gentle. Nothing about him hinted at anything more than a hardworking single dad doing his best. But there was one thing she couldn't ignore. The way he looked at the world with a quiet grief, like someone who had lost much more than he would ever say. Neither of them knew it yet, but the simple act of sharing a table would unravel a truth that would shock her, change him, and reveal a secret he had hidden for years, that Damon was no ordinary single dad, but a billionaire who had walked away from everything. Mira didn't expect a stranger to feel familiar, but talking to Damon felt strangely natural, as if their lives had been meant to cross. Rain pounded outside, lightning flashing against the cafe windows, but inside, the warmth around their small table grew. Damon explained that Lily had caught a cold, so he picked her up early from daycare only for the storm to trap them outside. He didn't complain. He never spoke poorly of anyone. Everything he said was colored with a patient, gentle resilience that Mira found rare in adults. Lily played with a napkin, dropping sugar packets and laughing every time Mira pretended to gasp dramatically. Damon watched them with soft eyes, the eyes of a man who cherished every moment with his daughter. "You're good with kids," Damon said quietly. "I don't know about that," Mira replied. "I just like them. They're honest." Damon nodded. "More honest than adults sometimes." It wasn't the words, it was the heaviness behind them. Mira tilted her head. "You sound like someone who's been disappointed by grown-ups." Damon chuckled softly. "You have no idea." He sipped the tea she insisted he take, warming his hands around the mug. "People tend to treat you differently when they think you have something they want. Money, status, connections." Mira raised a brow. "You talk like someone who used to have all those things." Damon's smile faded, not in sadness, but in the way someone smiles when they're remembering a life that no longer belongs to them. "Maybe I did, once." Mira waited, sensing he wasn't finished. "But none of it mattered," Damon continued. "Not when my wife got sick. Not when the board tried to force me to choose between her and the company. Not when she passed, and I realized that being important didn't save the one person who mattered most. Myra's breath caught. She felt her chest tighten. Damon, I'm so sorry. She told me, before she died, to let Lily grow up around kindness, not power, he said quietly. So I walked away. I left everything. The money, the board, the name. Now I just work small jobs, move often, keep things simple. People treat me more normally this way. Mira felt her heart break for him, not because he lost wealth, but because he lost love. Before she could speak, Lily tugged her sleeve. Mira, the child said sweetly, Daddy smiles more with you. Damon flushed. Mira felt her cheeks warm too. But then the door slammed open. A man in a tailored suit entered, shaking water off his umbrella. His eyes scanned the room, cold, sharp, searching. When his gaze landed on Damon, his expression tightened. He marched over. There you are, he snapped. Do you know what kind of mess you've created walking away like that? You think disappearing changes anything? Mira stared as Damon gently shielded Lily with his arm. The man leaned in, voice sharp, your father wants you back. The board wants you back. And the press, Damon's voice was low but steady. I'm not returning. Not now. Not ever. Mira stared. Father. Board. Press. The truth slammed into her. Damon wasn't just wealthy. He wasn't just successful. He had been someone important, someone powerful, before he chose a simple life for his daughter. But why was this man still chasing him? And what secret was Damon still hiding? The tension thickened as the businessman hovered over their table, his voice sharp enough to silence the entire cafe. Damon stood slowly, holding Lily close, his expression calm but unwavering. You need to leave, Damon said. This isn't your business anymore. The man scoffed. Not my business. Damon, you were the heir to one of the largest investment groups in the country. You walked away without warning. You vanished. You left a company, a family legacy, and millions of dollars stranded. Do you think people just forget someone like you? Mira felt her heartbeat quicken. She looked at Damon, not at the tired single father she had gotten to know, but at a man who had once carried the world on his shoulders. And then he looked at her. Not with fear, not with shame, but with a quiet acceptance, as if ready to tell her the truth he hid from the world. Mira, he said gently, I didn't tell you everything. I didn't want our first conversation to be about who I used to be. I wanted it to be real. Mira nodded slowly. I understand. But the businessman stepped forward again. Listen to me, Damon. The media already found out where you are. It's only a matter of time before they show up here. Your daughter. Damon's jaw clenched. Don't mention her. Mira stood up too, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He said leave. The businessman blinked, surprised that someone ordinary, someone small in the grand scheme of wealth and power, would dare speak so firmly. But before he could respond, Lily suddenly sneezed, leaning into Damon's shoulder. The businessman hesitated. She's sick. Yes, Damon said, and she doesn't need this stress. For the first time, the businessman's expression softened. Only slightly, but noticeably. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Look, the board wants you back, but I'm not going to drag a sick child into a media circus. I'll tell them I didn't find you. Damon stared, unsure whether to trust him. This is your one chance, the man continued. If you don't return, they'll eventually expose everything. Your identity, your disappearance, your daughter's name, it'll be everywhere. You should prepare. With that, he turned and left, the cafe falling silent behind him. Damon slumped into his chair, burying his face in his hands. Lily hugged his neck. Mira reached across the table and touched his trembling fingers. Damon, what are you going to do? He looked up at her, eyes glassy with exhaustion and fear. I don't know anymore. I just wanted a normal life for her. Mira took a breath, her heart pounding with a courage she never knew she had. Then let me help you. You don't have to disappear again. Not alone. Damon stared at her, really stared, as if trying to understand why someone he had known barely an hour cared so much. Why would you help me? He whispered. Because you're a good father, Mira said softly. Because you're kind. And because no one should face the world alone, especially not someone who gave up everything for love. Damon's eyes softened. For the first time that day, a genuine, hopeful smile returned to his face. Thank you, Mira. And as the storm outside slowly faded into a gentle drizzle, Damon realized that the kindness of one stranger, a stranger who invited him to share her table, had changed everything. Little did Mira know, the moment she chose kindness, the billionaire in disguise didn't just find safety. He found hope again, and maybe even the beginning of something he thought he would never feel again. Love. Thank you for watching True Kindness Tales. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more emotional stories that restore your faith in humanity. Thank you for watching till the end. If you believe that kindness can change lives, please like, subscribe, and share this story. Together, we keep the spirit of kindness alive. See you in the next video on True Kindness Tales.